Next here again. Today I am going to start my assembly of the lathe. What I'm going to do is try to get these the lathe ways mounted on the legs that I bought from Bob. And I'm also going to try and get that 2 by 12 plank of wood that I purchased for the bottom shelf of the legs. A lot of this stuff is really heavy, but today I have a special guest, Evil Twin Seniors here, helping me out. I do also have a set of plans that I found on actually how to, these are the original Atlas plans on how to set up the lathe with these legs. So we're going to use this as a guideline, and let's see how far we get tonight. So what we're doing, we're in the process of just setting up the legs. This is going to be a temporary setup. Just want to have the legs on a stable platform so we can get an accurate measurement for the shelf underneath. Eventually I'm going to put a wooden shelf under this as well, but because this stuff is really heavy, kind of have half of it on my bench and got the other half bolted to this leg. So now on to the other leg. Alright, well, she's mounted up on the legs. Now we're going to take the time to make that wooden shelf for the bottom. Alright, well, we've got the bottom shelf all nice and fitted. I think we did this a little backwards. I thought we can bolt in the shelf, but there's really not that much overhang to bolt this down to the legs. There are mounting holes, but they don't give you really much room, and the holes to be drilled in the shelf would be too close to the edge of the wood, and I'm afraid we might split it. So you can see the holes for the bracket which the shelf rests on, and this bracket really isn't all that wide. Plus there's this part here. Sorry Bob, I messed up the paint job trying to get this piece of wood in. There's a lip here, so this actually prevents me from going all the way to this one part. And when you put it down, it's a stable platform. I just don't think drilling holes to mount this is a smart thing. I think it's just going to split the wood. So for now, it's just going to rest on the on those brackets, and it's not going anywhere. But I had originally wanted to bolt it down so I could take the top part, the bed off, and have everything sort of stay as it is, and then when we would put on the top shelf. But we have a plan. We're just going to take the ways off and then just lay it down on the wood, mark our holes, and I think that's going to be a lot easier. So that's what we're going to do, and so stay tuned. Alright, well, with the help of my dad, I was able to get the bottom shelf and the top shelf mounted. This is just a temporary setup because I'm actually going to take the ways off because I want to give them a good cleaning. But I figured since my dad was around and I can use a set of extra hands, let me try and get this part done. Well, it's done. There it is. I really wanted to put that top shelf on because I think it would be really handy. Gave it a little bit of an overhang, and I think what it's good for, I can use it place some tools down of a spot. I may drill some holes in here so so these would fit in there and I won't lose them. Also, another great thing about this part, here's an old cooking pan that's my wife was going to throw out. I saved it, and now I have a chip pan, so that'll work out. And what I also did for now, because I wasn't sure, I left this part a little bit long, and you can never have enough shelf space. So if I need it, there we go. I could always cut it off. It's not a big deal, but I thought it could come in handy. So there she is for now, all mounted up on the legs. And the next part we'll be cleaning everything and starting to reassemble. And that's going to be exciting. So one thing I discovered was this mounting plate that goes on the back of the legs. I really thought for some reason that my motor mounted on that. But after looking over these instructions, the motor doesn't mount to that. The back gears, I guess they're called, I believe. It's what the motor attaches to the pulley system. That gets mounted to that. And the motor gets mounted to a plate that kind of pivots right over here. And I realized that I don't have this plate because the previous owner had this mounted on a bench. So I'm doing a search for this plate. However, I did discover something else. This motor is actually a really big motor, both physically and in terms of horsepower. The manual suggests a 1/3 to half horsepower motor, and this is actually 3/4. So right there, 3/4. It has the right RPM range, but what's also cool is that this motor can run on 115 or 230, which makes a lot of sense because I have to open up this plate to get inside, because another step I need to do is to wire in a switch, because as of now this was the on and off switch. You would plug it in, on, out, off, and I really don't want that. I want the an on and off switch. So this puppy is really big and powerful. So the problem I'm going to have with this is that this gets mounted to that bracket that I showed you, and then there's supposed to be a plate that this goes on that pivots, but this is supposed to tuck in this curvature, this curve area, and you can see that that's not going to work. So I can either get that plate and get a smaller motor, or keep this motor and somehow fabricate a new mounting system. So yeah, I'll have to eventually figure out what am I going to do with this motor. If I am going to use this motor, how am I going to mount it? Got to get the wiring done, the on and off switch, and in the process of filming this, I think this angle makes my motor look like an angry pig. What do you think? Anyway, the next step, which I am really excited about, is actual cleaning up of all the parts that I've taken off the lathe. And I have to say, this was a great learning experience. To me, as a beginner, it was very daunting to try and take a lathe apart. But you know, you just got to do it. Get your feet wet. Just take your time. Frustrating? Hell yeah. But when you get really frustrated, just take a deep breath, step back, approach it a little bit later, and somehow things just seem to work out. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video, this episode of my lathe restoration. And like I said, the next videos will be all about cleaning and the start of assembly. So thank you guys who have given me lots of comments and suggestions. Really appreciate it, especially those guys who are much more experienced than I am, which would literally be everybody. But yes, thank you guys, and I will catch you soon. Evil Twin X, signing off.